Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Great to have everyone on the call today on the advisory board. This is our second call, and we've got GT Thompson that's going to be on shortly. I'm pretty excited to have him on the call. I tell you what, there's a lot of things happening right now on the Farm Bill. There's a lot of discussions. I know planting's going on, so I'm sure there's some people that probably could not make it, but that's a positive. But with planning, there's also a lot of discussion about the insurance programs. Talked with a lot of the different insurance companies this past week, along with RMA, just sort of working through those different thoughts. We really believe that we currently have a great insurance program the way it is. It's a great backstop. There might be a few tweaks here and there, but that's what I'm hearing. I tell you what, I never thought I'd see $205 live cattle. That's quite amazing where that cattle market's going right now. But on the flip side, the hog market is a real struggle, although it was at 79 today, I believe. 72 earlier, I think it was on Friday or so. So hopefully we can keep keep some upward pressure on getting that dollar marker up. We also dealing a lot with conservation practices. Had a lot of discussions this past week on CRP lands, whether that could be grazed, whether that could be cut once, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of discussion in that area. And then obviously ethanol and biofuels. There's a lot of pressure going on right now with the biofuel industry on many different facets. And we also know that we want some things in there in the Farm Bill. So with that, those are sort of the topics that are going on. Again, what's happening from the committee side, and GT can talk about this too, is we're doing different hearings, different listening sessions throughout the country. In the Midwest, obviously, we're talking a lot about corn and soybeans, cattle, hogs, eggs, and dairy, and things like that. I know they're going to be in Florida, I think, this week, and Georgia. They're in California, so obviously that's different areas, specialty markets and stuff like that. So with that, let me see if GT is on at this point. No, he should be on very shortly. One other bill that got passed that's moving its way to the Senate is the Lower Energy Cost Act. What this bill would do is make sure that China cannot buy our farmland. We looked at it based on energy and based on protection, national security. That bill got passed by a bipartisan measure in the House. I think there's 20 Democrats that only voted no, or 22 Democrats. So that was a pretty big deal. That sort of showed everyone how important it is that our American farmland belongs to the American farmer. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And I've been working with the Senate to try to get that pulled up. One other thing, I had four town halls on the Farm Bill throughout Iowa, talking a lot about the different issues that are happening. And again, hearing a lot of things, WOTUS being one of those things, what we can do about WOTUS. We had the EPA administrator in front of us yesterday. We had some good questions there. The EPA administrator sort of capitulated on a couple things. Obviously, WOTUS, he thought it was a good thing what they were doing. And then also the issue when it comes to E15 for the summer and E15 year round. He's got about 11 days now, 10 days to make that decision. And it just seems like he's punting on it, that he won't make that decision and he'll wait till 2024. So, and then I guess the last thing is the Biden EV mandates. We had this in Ways and Means yesterday, trying to change and trying to eliminate some of the tax credits that were on the EVs. Especially the $7,500 and what this would dramatically cost. When they did the Inflation Reduction Act, the bill actually is about 20 times more expensive than what we originally projected when it comes to those tax credits. So with that, I'm going to tell you what, I'm so excited. I think GT has just joined us. So Chairman Thompson is the head of the agricultural committee. I had him in Iowa twice over the last several years. Once at the state fair. We had a great time at the state fair showing him around a couple years ago. And then I also had him at the Farm Progress Show. And he saw all the new technologies and all that was going on there. Had a lot of discussions over there. I'm so proud to be on the agricultural committee with him. I'm so proud that he took the opportunity to be on this call. So with that, GT, on the floor, I'm going to turn it over to you. And then once you have opening remarks, I'm going to ask you a few questions of questions that our advisory board has asked that wanted to ask you. So GT, take it from here.
Well, Randy, thank you so much. Let me say to all the folks who make up, who volunteered to be a part of Representative Feenstra's Ag Advisory group, thank you for doing that. You've got an agriculture champion representing you in Congress. I have so enjoyed his passion, his friendship, and the teamwork that we do together. So, very proud of him of what he's been able to do here. So Randy, thanks so much for the invitation to join you. You know, we do have this little bill that we need to get done here by the end of September, the Farm Bill, which quite frankly is probably, I think, one of the most important pieces of legislation that we will do, during the 118th Congress. Because why is that? Because this is how we support America's #1 industry, which is agriculture. This is how we support an industry who, by definition, and this is my definition of American agriculture, is science, technology, and innovation. It's the industry that touches people's lives more times a single day than any other industry that's out there. And it's not just the food and the fiber, the building materials, the energy resources that come from this acreage and these hardworking families. It's about the jobs. It's about the economy. It's about giving the productivity and really the science, technology, and innovation base. This is about a better environment and a cleaner climate, because American farmers are the climate heroes of the world with how we do things. And so, we've got there's only one thing that's working in at this point. That's the biggest challenge that we have with doing a farm bill, and it's the clock, because we got to get this done. Now the positives on the other side far outweigh that. I mean, got a great committee. Randy and his colleagues are it's just an incredible group. Agriculture backgrounds, passionate about this industry, and really leans in on the issues that are important. The leadership that we have, I will say, I've never had a Republican leadership so lockstep in support of the Agriculture Committee and in getting this farm bill done. The four corners that we have, which, Ranking Member David Scott from Georgia is a dear friend, close colleague. I was supportive of him the past 2 years when he served as chair, and now he's very supportive of the work that I'm leading. And on the Senate side, we had Senator Bozeman, who's a former mentor of mine when I first came to the House. He was in the House and a Bible study buddy. And Senator Stabenow, I really didn't know real well, but we've gotten to be good friends. We've broken bread, gone out for dinner a couple of times, just ourselves, to be able to build that relationship. So I'm really optimistic. Put on top of that, the 2018 Farm Bill was a pretty good farm bill, and so I'm optimistic that we're going to get this done. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I've been pleased to be out with Randy before. Iowa is near and dear to my family. My son and daughter-in-law were both pastors, and they worked in Eldora, Iowa. One pastored the Brethren Church there, and my son ran the church camp. And my two grandsons, Noam and Gabriel, were born in Iowa. Then somewhere along the line, they lost their way and moved to Illinois. I can't explain it. And I was heartbroken when it happened, but they're happy with where they're at. So, and that's all you want for your kids. You want them to be happy. There's all kinds of things we can talk about. I know you all did a great job of kind of looking at issues that are important to you. So Randy, I think at this point, why don't we go to those questions? And then if there's additional questions beyond that, I'll be glad to talk about, if anybody would like to, to talk.
Awesome. You bet. Thank you again, Chairman, for being on. And the first two questions, obviously, our state is the #1 ethanol producer in the country. And the question is, and this came from sort of all of the ethanol companies. It says here, can we use the Farm Bill to require the Treasury to use the updated GREET model for sustainable aviation fuel and 45Z, et cetera, and things like that? And this also goes back to our farmers and producers, that how can they be treated? I know there's a real concern that, it starts now and doesn't, all the practices that have been done in the last 10 years, would that be covered and stuff? But if you could just talk about the GREET model, what your thought is.
Yeah, well, I'm very supportive of that concept. I'm very supportive of year-round E15. I think that's, thank you to all of you who provide the commodities that go to manufacture these biofuels, specific, including obviously ethanol. It's one of the reasons that the American agriculture are the climate champions, and why our greenhouse gas levels are much lower than anywhere else in the world. And the GREET model assesses the life cycle emissions of a technology and has done so for traditional biofuels. I don't think, though, looking at the jurisdiction of the Farm Bill, what the parliamentarian would allow us to be able to do, I don't think the Farm Bill is the right place to include that. Really, it's my colleagues at the Energy and Commerce Committee, or perhaps on Transportation Infrastructure, would likely be able to better address that issue. Not that I'm not supportive of it, and if we could find a means, a segue to be able to do that, but I do think that having been through this process, I've been a part of this rodeo for 15 years and 2 farm bills prior. There may be other areas where this jurisdiction would probably lie.
Okay. And that'd be the same thing for year-round E15, if I had to guess, right? I mean, that would not fit under the energy title.
Yes, sir. Yeah, as much as perhaps you and I would like to see it fit under the energy title. There's a lot of things out there that are outside the scope of the Farm Bill that are in our interest area because they're important to the people we serve, those producers and processors that are out there.
Yep. So we've talked about this, I know, as a group. So funding for MAP and FMD, I think we'd all like to see that increased in the new Farm Bill. I know that there's got to be a balance also, that we're trying to cut down our spending and stuff like that. But what is your thought there?
Well, I tell you what, as I've traveled around over 40 different states, I think I'm at 41 states now in the past 2 years and 4 months. During Farm Bill listening sessions, I'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina, doing one tomorrow, and then tomorrow and Saturday, and then Monday in Gainesville, Florida, doing one. I hear a lot about market access program and foreign market development. The monies that were appropriated and then authorized to do that has been very effective, but there's so much more need out there. And I look at MAP and FND as insurance policies to help us when we have disruptions here at home, where we can have a robust trade market. To give you some idea, the monies that we're still using the same amount of monies when those programs were created, but they're probably only about at 25% efficiency of working or effectiveness of what they were originally. And that was because of sequestration and because of inflation. So I don't disagree that we probably at least double that investment. Now, I will say, until we see the May baseline, we're just simply not going to know what resources we'll have to work with. But to me, this is a priority, and so I'd like to see us the best possible Farm Bill. And Randy, that's the other thing. And you've heard me say this. Right now, we're in a listening mode. So now is to write the Farm Bill that American agriculture needs,
yep.
American consumers need. American producers and processors need. And then I'll thread the needle when it comes to the finances and the politics. But I will say a greater investment in MAP and FMD, I think are important.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. And so the other one, in my district, I mean, we have more chicken layers, eggs, and turkey layers. Then we also have a tremendous amount of hogs. Foreign animal disease. Obviously, the bird flu has just crushed us, and we've lost about 18 million birds over the years and we've gotten accustomed to figuring out how we can do it. We do it in an efficient manner of depopulating and stuff like that. I think it's like down from 18 days when it was originally started to down to 4.5. But when it comes to African swine fever, also, is there any increase, or can we look at any APHIS funding for staff or the indemnity programs that go along with this? I mean, this high path African swine flu and then also bird flu is such a big deal in my district, and the worry that could occur. We just want to be prepared, and what can we do?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're not going to catch Iowa, but I do want to brag briefly about Pennsylvania. I think we're moving into number 5 on hog production, and our poultry has just exploded. But so is high path AI here in Pennsylvania. We've lost millions of birds. That includes chickens, ducks, and turkeys. One of the saddest story was how just like 10 days before Thanksgiving, the entire flock of literally 1 million turkeys had to be culled as a result of this high path AI. I'm proud of what we have done as a committee in this space. Now, I want to let you know we don't have an animal health title because, quite frankly, I don't want to make an animal health target. So it is a subtitle within miscellaneous, and it's not that it's not important. We also are leaning in on poultry now with livestock. We've defined out livestock, poultry, and dairy with that subcommittee title. And we've done a good job with looking at vaccines, but we need to continue to invest in that. I absolutely agree that this is important. It is one health. It's human, it's animal, it's plant, and it's soil. In being able to combat these foreign animal diseases, I will say that the funding for increased staffing, which I think is important, that has to be handled through the annual appropriations process. We already authorize more than what is appropriated. And so we need to be leaning in on that, and I will do that. We just all need to be leaning in on the appropriations committee. Thankfully, the Animal Health Protection Act does give USDA broad authority to respond to a variety of disease threats and to tap into the Commodity Credit Corporation funding in emergency situations. And we've seen significant issues. Thankfully, we still have been keeping this African swine flu out of the country. That would be devastating. High path aviation is going to continue to be an issue, mostly thanks to migratory birds, which nothing we can really do about that. So we got to be prepared to be able to deal with this thing. We need more research. We certainly need more veterinarians. And so so we do need to provide support for AFAF and the indemnity programs. That's the other part. When these farmers lose, literally massive amounts of birds, the indemnity program needs to be robust. And those will be all things that we'll be looking at, and would welcome any thoughts going forward here, from any of the advisory committee members of, what they would like to see.
So this is sort of, I've talked about this, and I need just a great opinion from you. So obviously we have waters of the U.S. and there's a definition called navigatable waters. Is there any ability and to create a definition in the Farm Bill that just says this is what navigatable is? And would that hold any credence if we did?
I don't think so. The space for that would be transportation infrastructure. Obviously, we do watersheds. I chaired that subcommittee back under the Obama administration, fighting waters of the U.S., and we did that successfully. with other partners from the agriculture industry. Because, but that said, in terms of defining navigable waters, would really be a transportation and infrastructure, initiative. I think we need to be leaning in this. WOTUS is, first of all, I really just challenge this administration to tell me what's not working about the Clean Water Act. The states, what they're trying to do with WOTUS is really an attack on the sovereignty of the states, who have clear, anything non-navigable is in the jurisdiction of the states under the Clean Water Act. Nobody has changed or amended the Clean Water Act, and I think this is why the Obama administration lost on this, and this is why the Biden administration is going to lose. But it's sad, they're costing all kinds of money, right? They're spending taxpayer dollars to defend a flawed, I think, non-scientific policy, and they're creating all kinds of uncertainty for all of our businesses or all of our agriculture. This is quite frankly, anybody with private property, anybody that owns property, this is an attack on their private property act. Yep. But T&I is where we need to look to for that definition. Now, there are some definitions that may be helpful that we ought to consider as we look at the Farm Bill, but a definition of farming practices,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
Which may or may not be helpful. It makes no sense that the EPA and the Corps of Engineers went ahead with this when we're waiting on this ruling from the Supreme Court, which really could put to bed this whole controversy on non-navigable waters. Is if they look at the question of nexus, what is the nexus required to be considered non-navigable?
Absolutely. So when we start looking at obviously research and development, we understand that China is really outpacing us. Obviously, there's a title research. There's a research title. In Iowa, we have Iowa State University. Other universities that do a fantastic job. Do you see any space here? I know dollars are short and stuff like that, but anything that we can do in this title to make it more substantive?
Yeah, I hope so. Certainly the research title is incredibly important. And we found that the return on investment with our research is $20 for every dollar that we invest. And it's just such on the money side, it's advancements, right? It's increase in productivity. It is, the benefits that are created with the result of research. And I've always been dismayed at the disparity of what we invest for the National Institute of Health. And don't get me wrong, that's really important, right? But there's nothing more fundamental than health and nutrition, and that's agriculture and agriculture practices to produce more of what's healthy for us. And so, I think that's something we need to lean into. Again, I'm not going to be a naysayer and say, well, let's not even look at that because money's tight. It's going to be difficult. We're $31 trillion in debt. To me, let's draft the farm bill that American agriculture and every American needs, and then we'll figure out the funding. Quite frankly, there's a lot of pots of money out there that this administration has done that has not been spent. They've authorized it. They've appropriated it, but the checks haven't been written, and that's money we may find in CARES funding, in the infrastructure bill, and monies that unilaterally that Secretary Vilsack has done with dipping into the Commodity Credit Corporation. And where those checks are written, they're written, they're gone. But if it's a pot of money, kind of a slush fund is sitting there, then that's a part of our audit right now, and that'd be the kind of things that we could use to help fund the things that we need to do for a farm bill that will serve the farmers of 2023 through 2028, and quite frankly, create a platform for the farm of the future, what's over the horizon as well.
Yep. So for our livestock people, we over the last year and a half, probably 2 years, we're really seeing the big push on livestock risk protection insurance. A lot of our bankers, their operational loans are down this path of saying, hey, you have to get livestock protection risk. It's working pretty well. Is that something that would be funded through the Farm Bill?
Yeah. Livestock protection, revenue, risk protection insurance is incredibly important, as is all crop insurance. I mean, these risk management, the good news is that crop insurance is permanent law, and those policies have been approved by the Risk Management Agency, RMA, and will continue to operate. And the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation Board has the authority to make changes and improvements to policies outside of the Farm Bill cycles as well. So Farm Bill cycles is once every 5 years. I like the fact that we have some provisions and measures that we can, that we can make some tweaks that are appropriate for the risks that we're facing.
Yep.
Absolutely, those risk mitigation programs like you've talked about, LPR and other crop insurance, we not only hopefully will not just we need to protect them, but we need to strengthen them where we can.
Yep. I tell you what, I have one more question and then I'm going to turn it over. I know somebody else on the chat just said they have a quick question too. This is sort of down your area. I think I know the answer to this, but does a farm bill have any impact on the availability of milk in schools? I'm a big passionate promoter of milk and chocolate milk in schools. What are you thinking?
I wish it would, because we'd have it done. Home kids, right? Restoring what the Democrats took out of our schools when they took out really milk fat and flavor. We lost at least 2 generations of milk drinkers at this point. It has what their actions did, and their actions was based on bad science. Because today we know that milk fat, whether we're talking 3.5, maybe from a Jersey, you get maybe 4, maybe 5% milk fat. That makes great ice cream and milkshakes, by the way. It's good for you. It prevents 2 forms of cancer, or can help prevent 2 forms of cancer, cardiac health, rebuilds bodies after trauma. If you want a diet, there's nothing better than a glass of whole milk because it's satisfying. You don't go back for more. And what they did back in 2010 has really contributed to childhood obesity, because if they're not drinking healthy milk, which is one of the most nutritious beverage that's out there that God provides for us, they're drinking other highly caffeinated, high fructose, high sugar beverages, which may be tasty, but they're not satisfying. So you go back and drink more and more of those. So now that's clearly in the jurisdiction of education welfare or education workforce. The good news is I'm a senior member on that committee as well, and so I've already talked with just this week with the chairwoman of Mrs. Fox for Education Workforce to see if we get a hearing on whole milk for healthy kids. And she assured me that we would be able to make that happen. Now we're doing some other things in the dairy space, which I think is important. Obviously, the farm market development and MAP, for dairy is important. I recognize that's not a lot of class 1 because of the shelf life. But if you have shelf stable class 1 now, and quite frankly, that may be open for more trade. I am sitting back with what, because the dairy industry, for the most part, there's a consensus. That doesn't mean everybody agrees, but the majority seem to agree that instead of doing this legislatively, bringing the federal milk marketing orders up to date, they'd like USDA to have hearings and to do it from a regulatory perspective. And that's fine. I will have patience with that, but they better get it done. Because we can't continue to allow the federal milk marketing orders to exist the way they are, because all we're seeing is a loss of dairy herds and dairy farms and country. And so if it's broken, it does need to be fixed. If we can do the hearing process with authority of USDA, I'm more than happy to accept that. But if they can't get it done, then you and I will be working on some legislation.
Perfect. I got one question. I know Brad Corman had a quick question on LRP. Brad, if you got a quick second to ask the question, and we got like 2 minutes left here.
Thank you, Congressman. I'll be brief. The LRP program is being exploited by some that understand futures at a high level. I'm a commodity futures broker. I have spoken with some of the people at the agency that's responsible for the LRP. They call it subsidy harvesting. There's literally a way for people to use this subsidy to offset for them to make money. It has nothing to do with risk management. I've talked to Congressman Feenstra's aide at length about this. I think you can tweak it to clean it up, but it is being abused by a number of people. So I would look carefully at the way they settle the contract and how they're doing it.
I'll do that, Brad. Thank you so much. Subsidy harvesting. And Randy, why don't we get my team on the committee to sit down with you and your staff and let's pursue this, because there's no room for we need program integrity with these programs. And I know, unfortunately, for some folks, it's kind of human nature to figure out how to use and abuse. But you know, these are precious programs when it comes to our number one industry in the country. So we ought to do everything we can to keep that from happening.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, hey, we said we'd only be on a half hour, so we got to wrap up. But GT, I just want to thank you for your time. I know I'm so grateful for what you do, and coming out to Iowa, you understand how important the district is to farming and agriculture. And with that, I'll give you the last word. Again, thank you for being here.
Well, I just want to encourage everyone on this advisory committee to obviously stay at the table. There's a saying I learned BC, which either could be before children or before Congress, that when it comes to public policy, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. Now, I know you all want to be on the menu, but that's not what I'm talking about. And so being at the table, being engaged, just like Brad did with this subsidy harvesting. You don't want us writing a farm bill listening to just the intellectual capital inside the Beltway of Washington. Would not work out well. That's why we need you at the table. And so I encourage you to continue to support Randy and his leadership in agriculture, and quite frankly, supporting us in this farm bill process. And then the other thing, I'll just close with this. I've taught leadership skills my entire life. I'm an old Boy Scout. I hate to admit it, but I've been involved 52 years. I'd like to think I joined when I was 1, but I didn't. And so I've taught leadership skills and scouting. I've taught it in my church. I've taught it in my professional associations. And about 2 years ago, I came to the conclusion that I was not doing my absolute best, that I had totally missed what may be the most important leadership skill when it comes to the agriculture industry, and that's storytelling. And we have an amazing story to tell, and nobody's going to tell it for us. How we benefit people's lives multiple times a day, and not just American lives, quite frankly, people in different countries. When you look at our exports, when you look at our humanitarian assistance program, as I like to say, and I witnessed this firsthand, you know, people with full bellies are less likely to engage in war and terrorism. So that means the American farmer is a force for world peace. And so, but that's only a story that people will understand if we tell it. So I just encourage us all to be at the table and, quite frankly, be great storytellers for American agriculture.
Perfect. Well, with that, let's be storytellers, everyone. Thanks for being on my advisory board. Again, get involved. You can text me, email, whatever. Any questions, issues, or thoughts you have for the next farm bill, we got to hear from you. That's why you're part of this board, to be engaged, be involved. So again, thanks for your time, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend, everyone.